Hello, Miss Briscoe here with today's math lesson. You're going to need the notes that you can find above the video listed for today's math assignment. You're going to want to complete those notes as we are going through the math lesson. So our learning goal for this math lesson is I can classify triangles. So we're going to be talking about triangles, and you're going to need to fill in the definitions that are on this page. We're also going to be drawing pictures to show examples of each type of triangle or angle along this lesson so that you can use these notes anytime that you are completing practice within this math chapter. So we can classify triangles by two different ways. The first way that we can classify triangles are by their sides, and the second way is by their angles. So let's first talk about how we can classify triangles by their sides. Triangles can be classified by their side lengths, and it's on whether or not they have congruent sides. And if you remember, congruent means to be the exact same size and shape. So there are three different names that we can give triangles, three different ways we can classify them by their sides. We can classify them by an equilateral triangle, an isosceles triangle, and a scalene triangle. And as you can see, I've already listed the definition for each type of triangle. An equilateral triangle means that the triangle has three sides that are equal. Okay, so all three sides are equal. They all are the same length. That would be an equilateral triangle. And that one's an easy to remember because it's equilateral. Equilateral triangle, three sides that are equal. The next type of triangle is an isosceles triangle. Now, an isosceles triangle has two sides that are congruent, and then a third side that is not congruent. So what that means is it has two sides that are the exact same length, and then a third side that is a different length. And the last triangle is a scalene triangle. Now, a scalene triangle means that all the side lengths are different. None of the side lengths are going to be equal. And there's an easy trick that I use to help me remember. If you notice the three triangles, equilateral, isosceles, and scalene, they go in alphabetical order. The E would come first in the alphabet, the I would come second, and then the S would come last. So a little trick that I help myself to remember is they go in alphabetical order, and the number of congruent sides goes down by one with each of them. So an equilateral has three, an isosceles has two, and a scalene has zero. So if I'm thinking about them in alphabetical order, if I were to list equilateral, isosceles, scalene in alphabetical order, it would go 3, 2, 0. So that's an easy way to remember the triangles by remembering it that way. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be angles. We can classify triangles by their angles. So let's first talk about angles. There's three types of angles. You have an acute angle, which is less than 90 degrees. So you also have a right angle, which is 90 degrees, and you have an obtuse angle, which is larger than 90 degrees. So if we're looking at a right angle, that is an angle that would make like the corner of a box, and normally you'd see it represented with a little box in the corner. That is a 90-degree angle. If you were to measure it, it would be 90 degrees. An acute angle is anything less than 90 degrees. So picture this 90-degree angle as a mouth. If you were to close it, anything less than that would be an acute angle, okay? So this angle right here would be acute. It's less than 90 degrees. And obtuse is if you were to open this up really far. That would be an obtuse angle. So something like this, where it's a really big angle, larger than 90 degrees. So the way that we can classify triangles is by the angles of the triangle. So an acute triangle would have three acute angles. So this would be an example of what an acute triangle would be. All of the angles in this triangle are less than 90 degrees. A right triangle only has one right angle. So this would be an example of what one would look like. And sometimes, but not always, they would add the little box here to kind of show you that is a right angle. And an obtuse triangle would be a triangle with one obtuse angle. As you can see, that angle is larger than 90 degrees. So those are the different types of triangles that can be found. And you can use this sheet to help you with your practice for today's lesson. As always, make sure you complete your notes. You can pause, rewind this video to review anything that you aren't sure about, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day, guys.